Hello and welcome to Frank's School, 70th day of the second year. I'm analyzing the movie Willow. Now, I remembered the word I was reaching for yesterday. It's talisman. Talisman. That memento. I called it memento. That Willow has a lock of Kaya's hair. An object regarded as being magical. A talisman. I had to look. Well, I thought of it and then I checked. All right, I don't want you to watch too much more. As I was looking at it, I was trying to decide what would I do in class, because it's getting tempting to just let the movie run. But I think there's too much to be said about the next part that's going to come. Well, you're going to meet Mad Mardigan. Well, first of all, let's come down here. Meanwhile, back at the ranch device. That's what I called it last year. Or split storyline. I don't really know the right technical name for it, but the story now is going to jump from these characters to another place and other characters. This is Queen Bavmorda and her daughter, Sorsha, I think is her name. So it jumps, and that's why I'd asked you to stop where you did. Now, I wanted to point out, I call it Meanwhile Back at the Ranch device because the westerns of the 1950s, they did this all the time. Meanwhile Back at the Ranch. That's where it got that name. I may be the only person in the world that calls it that. But I did want to point out something about punctuation, which is coming. I'm going to be teaching punctuation soon. You never see it used anymore, if ever. But that's a double hyphen. There's two reasons to hyphenate here. Meanwhile Back at the Ranch, at the farm. Meanwhile Back at the Ranch. I should have said ranch. I hyphenated that to make it all into one adjective. What kind of device? Meanwhile Back at the Ranch device. Well, when I got here, I had two reasons to hyphenate it, because I'd come to the end of my line. So it looks like I just throw that in there. I doubt if it's recognized anymore. So anyway, it jumps there, and there we find out. Well, there's some. We're introduced to a new character. I think of him as an archetype kind of character, the evil general. I think of him as the devil's lieutenant sometimes. I mean, and I guess enough said about that. Also, Sorsha. Well, you've seen her before at the beginning of the movie, but she is going to be the archetypic rebellious child, son, King David. His son Absalom was an example of this. Last year when I was teaching it, we so often came into that where son turns against father and they fight it out. Well, it's a daughter in this case, and she's not really yet rebellious. And it's interesting that when George Lucas made this movie, he changed genders. Instead of the endangered royal baby is usually not always, but usually a male. Sleeping Beauty, well, or Snow White would be an example of an endangered royal baby that's a female. But anyway, it's a girl baby, and the rebellious child is a daughter. And she's not yet rebellious, but there is foreshadowing of what's coming. I think it's Queen Bavmorda's advisor says someday she will turn on you or something like that. I can't remember exactly what the words were. That's foreshadowing. In fact, she will. And it's ironic that the Queen says that would never happen. Okay, and there is a subplot. Not terribly important, but there's been a subplot, and that is the story of Burglecut and Willow squaring off against each other. For the time being, that subplot goes into the background. Well, it's not quite finished, but almost. And there's a new musical tune. I think it's the first time you've heard it, I think. I'm going to call it Mad Mardigan's theme. I'm tempted to try to sing it a little bit, but if you listen, you will hear a different tune, which then you're going to hear throughout the movie. All right, I would, and the pulse now is going like this again. It picked up when the chase was there, and then it calmed down again. The pulse of the movie. Okay, I would ask you to stop when Mad Mardigan leaves carrying the baby. That might seem early. You know, I still try to think, what would you do with a class period? And it might seem early. The kids might want to see more, but I think that's probably the best place to stop. So that's it for my part today. I hope you continue to view this movie, and I'll see you next time, probably tomorrow. Bye.